Welcome to Cheryl's Home Cooking. Today what I'm going to show you is one of my favorite recipes, so let's get started. Welcome to Cheryl's Home Cooking, and today what I'm going to show you is my stuffed ground beef in this nice awesome sauce, along with some homemade biscuits that I serve it with. So let's get started. I have my oven on 350. I put on some gloves because I'll be squishing this hamburger. I have 2 pounds of ground beef, and it's the Zaycon ground beef. I have 1/4 cup of chopped green pepper, a tablespoon of minced garlic. I'll place that in with my hamburger. Along with 1 egg. And 1/4 cup of Parmesan Romano cheese. I'll mix that all together. And you cook these in your oven on your 350-degree oven until well done or medium rare. Depends on how you like your hamburger. Once the hamburger is done, then I'll be placing them on my homemade biscuits. That's good. Now I have my baking dish. I'm taking a little bit of hamburger, making like a little hole. I have some Fiesta cheese. It's shredded Fiesta cheese, which is Monterey Jack and cheddar. I'll put a little in the middle, cover it back up, then place it on my baking dish. So I just took some hamburger, make a little hole, place some of the cheese inside, it's just like a pinchful. Close it back up. So you can see it's just a handful of ground beef. Make a hole. Pinch of cheese. Close it back up. That's why I like using gloves with this ground beef, so it doesn't get underneath my fingernails. You can see it's not that flat. I'm not really flattening the ground beef. You can make them how big or how small you'd like. So I'm just using my thumb and my fingers to make like a little indentation inside the ground beef. Place a pinch of cheese. Close it back up. The last of the ground beef. Make the indentation. Rest of the cheese. That was probably about a half a cup to maybe a little bit more than a half a cup of shredded cheese that I had in the bowl. So now I'll remove my gloves. I'll place them in my oven. While the hamburger is in the oven cooking, I have 2 cups of flour. I'll place that in my bowl. A half a cup of heavy whipping cream. In my flour, I also had 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. I had it on top of my flour. Now I'll add in 2 eggs. There's 1. There's 2. I'll place this off to the side. I have 1 tablespoon of cold butter. I'll cut it into cubes and place that in. Just place it in. Now that my butter is in, I'll also place in 2 cups of Fiesta cheese, which is the Monterey Jack and Cheddar. It's the same cheese that I placed inside my ground beef. I'll use this cup. So I have 2 cups of the Fiesta cheese. I'll place that in. Now I'll get a fork and mix this all together. And these will be the biscuits that I'll place the ground beef in. So I went and got some clean gloves. Now that I have that mixed together with a fork, I'll make sure everything's blended together real good. picking it up from the bottom. You want to make it like a dough. So now I'll remove the dough from my bowl. Blend it all together. I have my oven on 350, and you'll bake these in the oven for about 20 minutes or until nice and firm and golden brown on top. That looks good. Now I have my baking pan. I'll spray the bottom. Now that I sprayed the bottom, I'll put it off to the side. I'll get my rolling pin and roll out the dough. I have a cutter. There's one. I'll place it on my pan. I can get a couple more out of here. These biscuits are really good. There's 1, 2, 3. Might be able to get 2 more out of here and that'll be it. I'll just form this last one into a round disc. Place it on my baking dish. It made 14 biscuits. So now I'll place this in my 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes or until nice and firm and golden brown on top. So into the oven it goes. Now I'll check on the hamburger in the oven. I'll flip it over. You can see how nice that looks. Back into the oven it goes. Now for the gravy for my hamburgers, I have one 32-ounce container of beef broth. I'll place it in my pot. I have my burner on medium. I'll let that heat up. Now that the beef broth is warming up, I'm going to add in a little bit of Wonder flour, enough to thicken it. So as I'm pouring the flour in, I'm mixing it. I don't want to get any lumps. that, I'll add in about 1 tablespoon of Kitchen Bouquet. It's a browning seasoning sauce. So I'll just eyeball it. I'll lower my burner to low. I also have 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. I'll add that in. I'll give it a try. Good. Now I'll put my burner on simmer. I'll add a little bit of salt, pepper, mix it around. Give it another try. That's really good. So I have my burner on simmer. I'll put my lid on. I'm still waiting for my biscuits and my hamburgers in the oven. I'll check on the hamburger and biscuits. Ooh, looking good. I'll remove the hamburgers from the oven. So I have my casserole dish. I'll be placing the hamburgers in the casserole dish. Don't they look good? I'll place them in my pan. Now that I have my hamburger in my pan, I'll turn my burner off that I made the gravy in. I'm going to pour the gravy over the hamburger. I'll place it back in the oven. I'll let the hamburger absorb that gravy. Now I'll check on the biscuits in the oven. Look at how good that looks. So I'll leave that off to the side. Hamburger looks good. Place that up here. I'll turn my oven off. Now don't these biscuits look good? And there's the ground beef and this nice sauce. So now I'll put some on my plate. So how I like to serve this is you can have 1 or 2 biscuits. The biscuits slid right off of this baking dish. So I'll put 2 on my plate. What I'm going to do now is slice it in half. Look at how nice that looks with all the cheese inside. So now I'll take a burger, place it right in the middle. So I have it in the middle of my biscuits. I'll take some of this gravy, pour it over the biscuits, over the ground beef. I'll salt and pepper the ground beef. Now doesn't that look good? So now that I salt and peppered it, I'll try a bite. So now I'll try a bite. I'll cut some of the ground beef, the biscuit, Now, doesn't that look good? That's really good. We'll take another bite. You can see the cheese melting on the inside of the ground beef. Take another piece of the biscuit. Soak it in that gravy. So this deserves a second bite. So good. These biscuits came out awesome. I'll just try the biscuit. Perfect. Enjoy. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Cheryl's Home Cooking and watch me make one of my family's favorite recipes. I'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Cheryl's Home Cooking. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye-bye.